Welcome to the podcast, Samuel Adams, American patriot and revolutionary leader. Samuel Adams was a radical patriot and political leader during the American Revolutionary era. Thomas Jefferson described him as truly the man of the Revolution. More agitator than statesman, Samuel Adams was a preeminent early leader in the movement for independence of the American colonies from Great Britain. Adams was a Boston native born into a prosperous family on September 27, 1722. Young Adams received an early education at the Boston Grammar School and graduated from Harvard College in 1740. He later wrote his master's thesis on political revolution while at Harvard. Not finding success in his own business, he joined his father in the family malt house business. Several generations of Adams had been maltsters, producing the malt necessary to brew beer. His cousin, John Adams, who would go on to be the second president of the United States, later claimed that Samuel Adams' revolutionary tendencies started about this time. He became active in Boston politics and worked as a tax collector from 1756 to 1764. He gained prominence as a local writer and leader in opposition to the taxes on the colonists. The colonists protested that they were being taxed by Great Britain but had no representation in the British Parliament. He became active in politics and served as a clerk and member of the Massachusetts legislature. His 1768 Massachusetts circular letter calling for the colonials not to cooperate with British prompted occupation of Boston by British soldiers. After the Boston Massacre in 1770, political tempers calmed and this period became known as the Years of Quiet. During this period, Adams worked to form committees of correspondence which were responsible for maintaining communication between the American colonies and inciting political unrest against the British. These secretive committees of correspondence became the nucleus of the American Revolution and continued to function until state and local governments could be formed. Adams came into possession of some very sensitive personal correspondence of British colonial officials, including the Massachusetts governor Thomas Hutchinson. In the letters, Hutchinson recommended that there should be in the colonies an abridgment of what are called English liberties. The letters caused a firestorm of controversy, and Hutchinson was burned in effigy during a protest in Philadelphia. Hutchinson bitterly complained that Samuel Adams and his followers were determined to get rid of every governor who obstructs them in their course to independence. Samuel Adams became Britain's public enemy number one in the American colonies. Tea from the East India Company had been dumped on the colonies at a cut-rate price, which undercut local merchants, hurting their businesses. As a result, a rowdy group of men, dressed as Mohawk Indians, boarded the ship loaded with cheap tea and tossed 340 chests of British tea into the Boston harbor in protest. The British responded harshly and shut down Boston harbor until the British East India Company was reimbursed for the tea. Historians are not sure of the amount that Adams participated in the Tea Party. John and Samuel Adams both served as members of the Continental Congress, which formed in 1774. Samuel was poor and didn't have proper clothes or money for the trip to Philadelphia for the Congress. To help Samuel, his friends bought him new clothes and paid for his expenses. Samuel Adams led the opposition to the harsh British-imposed Coercive Acts and supported the radical Suffolk Resolves endorsed by the Second Continental Congress. The British realized that Adams was a revolutionary, and the military governor of Boston, General Thomas Gage, excluded him from the general amnesty issued in 1774. Both the Adams were signers of the Declaration of Independence in 1776. He continued in politics and served in the convention that drafted the Massachusetts State Constitution in 1779. After the Revolutionary War was over, Adams supported the adoption of the Constitution, which established a democratic form of government for the United States. Even though he had some doubts about the new form of government, the Constitution was ratified by the state of Massachusetts in 1788. From 1789 to 1793, he served as Lieutenant Governor of Massachusetts under Governor John Hancock. After Hancock's death, Adams succeeded him and was elected as governor for 4 years. Samuel Adams lived long enough to see a new nation formed out of the revolution he had helped to create. Adams died in Boston at age 81 on October 2, 1803. A noted Boston clergyman wrote, "Samuel Adams preserved through life in his Republican principles without any conformity to parties, influence, or times. He preserved the severity in his manners and in the dogmatism of a priest in his religious observances. A Boston newspaper, the Independent Chronicle, eulogized him as the father of the American Revolution. I hope you enjoyed this podcast about Samuel Adams. If you want to know more about this man and his life, I have included some links in the description. Please don't forget to give the podcast a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and thank you for listening.